There's nothing in this that's truly random. This is what a grayscale image looks like when it's converted to bitmap pattern. One or two of you that are watching this might go, oh, send it through a rip and do a stochastic now. I've had an opportunity to look through them. It's really neat, but they all have a pattern too. Welcome back. We are going to dive back into posters here for a little bit. Sakura blossoms, very traditional type of design, of course, AI generated, and it's very timely as the sakura blossoms happen in March or April. Now, recently, I also had an opportunity to talk with a local poster print shop called Seizures Palace, and Nick over there, the owner, he and I geeked out long enough that I had to go make sure my car didn't have a ticket because it was parked too long in a paid parking spot. We had a fantastic time talking shop and talking about art and how ink applies to paper and all the myriad things that you can do with that. I'll talk more about that during our process, the actual printing of the print. But when it came to our art discussion, he says that he does all of his art in Photoshop for very mechanical reasons, being able to manipulate pixels quite easily. And when I ended up asking him about CMYK, he was a little bit less enthusiastic for really good reasons. Halftone printing on that level, the amount of ink that goes down on that paper. And remember, when water gets into the paper grows and it loses its structural stability, which means registration. So that's a hurdle because you're laying down so much ink on top of itself. And of course, then after that was the color development. And then if we want to get real technical, the halftones and the rosettes that come about from doing CMYK printing on paper. We can't get away with single angle printing like we do in screen printing. We need to create what's called a rosette. It's a rotation of all your colors in order to create the colors that we want to see. But there's a way around that. And I'll show you that here at the end of everything that we're going to do for color balancing. But let's go through the image and go through our CMYK profiles and our settings so you can get a sense of how to tackle an image like this, no matter what the colors are, so that you have a great chance of succeeding and having fun when you're on press instead of pulling your hair out and getting frustrated because things don't want to line up. One of the first things that we want to do whenever we're doing any CMYK is we want to make sure that our color profile is correct. So we go down here under Edit Color Settings and we open that up and we have our color settings window. Now, if you've seen any of my Photoshop work in which I've dived into processes like this, the last one like this would have been the CMYK water-based printing on t-shirts that we did 2-3 years ago, in which I dived in using the Aurora Force inks, which I'm going to be using here again today. And I set up their dot gain and all the rest of that. We talked about color balance. All of that still applies. So if you want to go back and watch that deeper dive video into color adjustment of CMYK, go for it. It's well worth the watch. Here, we're going to manipulate the image very specifically to just play with the tones that are here. We're not looking for color correctness of any kind. First thing we want to do is for CMYK, you always want to load the CMYK values for the inks you're working with. In this case, it's the Aurora Force. Go ahead and go to the website under Green Galaxy Aurora Force, download the CMYK profile, click load, and then it'll pop up in here. And then we'll go through and we'll tweak some of that here. But I wanted to show you in the same window, dot gain. If you end up converting any of these colors into spot colors, which we're going to end up doing, we want to see a visual dot gain between 20 and 25%. And again, we could even be less. We could be down closer to 15% if the ink starts to dry out on our screen, because that dot literally starts to shrink from the outside in because the ink is drying in the screen. Play with this, learn from it. It could be that you set it at 20 and never need to adjust for various reasons. Let's see, we're going to go into custom CMYK, and then this pulls up all the magic behind the scenes. So I have this labeled here, Aurora Force Process 305, so that I can come in and load this up for the next time I do any kind of CMYK printing. If I do CMYK printing, this is going to be my first shot at it on paper. So we'll see if I want to do it again. Dot gain is set for 25%, less dot gain on paper, lots of dot gain on that very grainy fabric that we all print on called t-shirts. So I have this set up here for 25. It could end up being a little heavy. We'll find out later. Black generation, this literally says, this tells the program, hey, all that gray value you have, we're going to use more or less black in order to create it. Or all your highlight gray, instead of it being black, it's now made from color combinations. So in this case, the color here will start to combine to create like that top 1/3, your highlights. So you won't see much black there. You'll see a lot more color coming down in order to create your gray values. The next thing you want to look at, of course, is your black ink limit, meaning if you have 100% black in one spot, the block channel will print out 100% black. Total ink limit. This is the one that's important for paper. If we have too much ink stacked, then that paper can end up expanding because it's got a lot of moisture in it. Now, we're running our paper through our dryer to get it dried in between colors, which most poster printers don't have. They're putting it into a poster rack. So think about how your process is going to help you determine whether or not you want more ink density or less. I'm going to do this at 200 and see if it's a good choice or a bad choice. We'll find out once we're on press. So I'm going to click OK. That's the magic behind the scenes, that when you push the CMYK button, your image is converted into. So we're going to click OK here. And then I'm going to have my eyedropper hover over. And if we do the math over here on my info side, that should equal up to about 200. So I have black at 75, yellow at 25. So let's combine those, make that 100, and then 26 and 20. So that's 160. So that's not a very saturated area. Let's try to find one that's like maxed out. How about down here? 76 and 24, and then 150. So we don't have very saturated areas anyways. Let's see, 80, 100, 150, 85, 25. Let's be silly. New layer, create a box, edit, fill, black 100%. So black 100, 26, 20, and 34. So that's 45, 79. So it goes to about 179. So it's not quite hitting 100% density, and that's fine. It was just an exercise to show what that does. And if we change that to 300, those numerical values will increase. So what are the next things that we want to look at when we're doing anything with CMYK or needing to recreate a piece of art like this? First thing is color balance. We want to make sure that the color is balanced the way that we want it to, see if there's any improvements we can make to the image. If this is our image or a customer supplied image, we want to work in the best interest of the customer, make sure that they give us approval on whatever we do. If it's our image, we tweak it until we're happy with it. In this case, this is our image. So we can go ahead and mess around with color all we want. I really like this tool under here. Oh, I always need to make sure I have the layer selected, image, adjustments, shadows and highlights. Some of you may have seen me do this before, but I really like a lot of what this function can do for us in terms of opening up shadow areas that, especially on AI generated art, it can all be a little bit too much. Highlights can be blown out, shadows can be too dark, and this gives us a chance to play around with that image and get it balanced in a way that looks better. So I've done that. I've shown you the basic functions, and then this is the image that I came up with. And then after that, I wanted those cherry blossoms to have a little bit more pop. And because I'm concerned about the density of ink and therefore the liquid saturation into the paper, I didn't want to stack 4 colors on top of each other. I will be stacking 3. So in that, I want to go ahead and I want to remove my cyan. So I want to adjust my image so that the cyan looks good. And I don't really need it in this design. It does develop some of those nice rich shadows, but that's not the focus of this print. This focus of this print are the cherry blossoms. So in this, I went through and I removed the information in my cyan channel. It's completely gone. And I made sure to boost the pink and control that yellow a little bit by using my curves tool. I can end up boosting or deleting some of that information. Now, clearly that's too much. But if I was to give it like a little boost, it's not a bad kick and not a bad oomph to the design. So that was what I went ahead and did. Now, one of the things I need to do here before I progress any further, because I'm basically done with my color adjustments and deciding how many screens I want to use for this as an art piece, is I need to make sure that this is going to fit on my paper. Now, my paper size is 12.5 by 19. That's the outer dimensions of the paper. And I want at least a 1/2 inch on either side of my print, so I can't do this any more than 11.5 wide. But 11.5 wide at however long this design is, let's find out. So image size. So I need to get this down to, if my tallest on the paper is 19, I need to get that down to 18. So width, let's get this down to 18. This puts it at just over 10 wide, which of course is going to be plenty. So for math on the height, let's just make this 10 at 300 DPI, and that's fine. Now, another thing that I want to do, because I am going to choose not to do rosettes. I'm going to choose not to produce a halftone dot. I'm going to use what's called a dither dot. Another way to describe it is I'm going to bitmap each of my separations. So I'm going to now drop the resolution of my image to a dot size or a resolution size in which I can create a dot that's easy to maintain on screen and print. Now, if you haven't watched my advanced Photoshop class, I talk about this in depth. I'm going to drop this down to 200. The pixel size at 200 DPI plays well with the 230 mesh that I'm going to use. In that class, I go on to show the interference patterns that you can have with 230 and 305 mesh, depending on the resolution that you have. So we're going to go 200. We have 10 inches high by almost 18 inches wide. I'm going to click OK. Now my image is resized. There we are. And what we need to do now is we need to duplicate the channels that we have here. Now I've done that. This is my black copy. That's the yellow copy, and that's the magenta copy. Right now they are all alpha channels. They are not spot colors. I need to duplicate each of my channels or my alpha channels into a new file and then bitmap them. I can't bitmap them here. So I'm going to duplicate this into a new file. I'm going to click OK. So this is our magenta copy. We're going to go up here under Image, Mode, and we're going to click Bitmap. Now in here, you have a few options. We have 50% threshold, pattern dither, blah, 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 halftone screen. You've probably seen halftone screen. It's an easy way to get halftone dots. But we're going to choose diffusion dither. We're going to click OK. And when it's in a bitmap mode, as you can see here, it looks weird. So now we're going to convert this image mode grayscale, size ratio 1:1, yes. And now it looks much more normal. So we're going to zoom in a little bit so you can see that this is what a grayscale image looks like when it's converted to a bitmap pattern. Now, one or two of you that are watching this might go, oh, well, do a stochastic dot, send it through a rip and do a stochastic dot. Stochastic dots still have a pattern knockout to them. If you ever get the chance, take a look at them. Depending on the stochastic pattern you choose, whichever one of the like 20 some variants you can find in RIP software, these are usually the pricey RIP software packages. They all have a knockout pattern, no matter what. I've had an opportunity to look through them. It's really neat, but they all have a pattern too. So everything, there's nothing in this that's truly random. Now we can work on getting rid of some of this pattern by introducing some noise. There's some tricks around that if we wanted to do that. That could be pretty neat. For what we're doing here, and for the sake of this being posters, we're gonna work with this. Now, when it comes to some of these highlights, it may be that you want to come back with a fourth screen and print a spot color white, but we'll find out. So this was the magenta copy. So we're going to turn this into image mode RGB color. And because this is all grayscale, all of this is the same. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to duplicate channel, I'm going to click OK, double click it, spot color, and this was magenta. So we're going to go 100. Click OK, and the solidity is going to be 1 because we want to see it blend. Click OK, confirm. That was my magenta copy. Now I'm going to do the same thing with yellow. Duplicate channel. New. Okay, we're here. Image mode bitmap. Okay. Image mode grayscale. Okay. This file save as. I'm going to save it here. I'm going to click save. All right, so I have my magenta here. Now I need to take this, duplicate channel into the Sakura blooms over bridge. Okay, go over here, spot color yellow, 100, solidity 1, click OK. And we're gonna move these around a little bit. There we go. And then we got one more to go here. Black copy, duplicate channel into a new, because again, we got to bitmap it. Image mode bitmap. Okay. Image mode grayscale. Yes. And duplicate channel into blooms over bridge. Double click. So much work. Black. Now black is the only one that's a little weird. 1 opacity or 100% or percent opacity, doesn't matter. All displays the same. And the visual is very, very similar. And that's with that bitmapped effect. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And you can see the effect of the bitmap. You can see where there is gap, there's a hole, but that little dot, that white dot, that's a 200 DPI dot size. It's pretty small. Now, if I have little to no dot gain happening, then the print's going to look a little airy. But if my dot gain is closer to what I expect, then everything should end up looking pretty good. So we're going to have magenta dots dropping on top of yellow dots, and we're going to have black dots dropping on top of and around as well. We're going to see how it works, and we're going to see if my print looks good. Now, what I need to do at this point is take this, save it so that I can bring this into Illustrator, and so that I can add my cut lines and my registration marks, so that when I cut along them, we're going to trim off the excess paper, and the image will look like this. It'll be the full, what looks like a full bleed image on white paper, but you get that by cutting the paper down to that. So I'm going to drop that into Illustrator. We're going to fast forward through that because we do have a lot of process videos on that. And then I'm going to send this to our Exile, the Spider 2 wax printer. I'm going to put this onto the red glue auto frames, and I have a new 6.1 Riley 250 that we have set up specifically for printing on posters that I'm going to get the screens registered on. Thank you very much. We always appreciate you guys watching. If you have questions on what I'm doing here, drop a comment down below. A like and subscribe always makes us feel good and brightens our day. See you guys on press.